What is going on, guys? Yeah, so today I've got an actual book that I kind of read, and now I used to do books all the time. I used to do tons and tons of books and put them on the podcast, but they take forever, and then I got stuck on this one particular book. It is a complete headache. I've never liked Thomas Mann. I tried over and over again, at least 20 times I tried to read this book. And sometimes I'd start back from the beginning, sometimes I'd start from where I left off, and I just kept trying to read this damn book, and I could not get through it. I tried the physical book, I tried the audio book, I tried to get Sydney Sweeney to read it to me. It just feels like a slog. The words blend together, and I eventually want to take a nap. And it's the first book I've run into that really had this effect on me. There were some others that I didn't like, but this one was the first where it's just taking me forever to try to get through it. And if you don't know, it's The Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann. I'm sure there are a lot of people who absolutely love it, but I just could not do it. And then at one point, I got about halfway through, and I stopped, and I couldn't remember a damn thing that happened. I'm like looking back through the pages trying to remind myself what this book is about, and I could not figure it out. So in lieu of taking another 2 years to finish it, I'm just going to do an episode and move on with the 100 greatest novels, or the 100 greatest books. It's not just novels. So we can get to some other stuff on this list. I've been doing this list forever. We're like 50 deep, and I don't want to stop. So we're just going to get over this damn book. Yeah. Now, it's thematically up my alley. I do not mind Russians going on and on about death and existentialism, or the French. I read many a book that had those themes going through it, but the Germans just don't do it for me, at least this German. So, published in 1924, the general plot follows Hans Castorp, I guess, a German engineer visiting his cousin in a tuberculosis sanatorium in the Swiss Alps. So it was supposed to originally just be a visit. He was going to show up there and then leave, but it turns into an extended stay and a 7-year story while he's in the sanatorium. And while he's there, he gets drawn into like the isolation of the sanatorium from the rest of the world. And this has, bigger meaning when it comes to his character and when it comes to themes and philosophies and ideas. The inhabitants of the sanatorium espouse a bunch of diverse ideologies. They're representative of different ideologies. Two of the important ones, Ludovico Settembrini is like a humanist and represents that ideology. He advocates for reason. Then there's Leo Naptha, who is a radical Jesuit who's promoting a kind of authoritarianism. There's also a girl who's like a love interest in the place, and another patient that represents hedonism. So over the course, it's like time compresses as the years pass, and there are these swirling existential questions that Hans encounters and addresses throughout. And then the outbreak of World War I disrupts the isolation, and Hans leaves to join the war. So that is the basic story of The Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann. So like I said, it's got a setup, it's got ideas, it's got characters representing different perspectives philosophically. It's all the things that I absolutely love about Dostoevsky's writings and that I just couldn't help but hate in this kind of writing. I don't know why for sure yet. If anybody can illuminate for me, I'd appreciate it. But some of the themes that are really explored here, it's about the identity of Europeans in the wake of the First World War. Now, the First World War hit the world like a brick. It was crazy. People did not realize how destructive war can be coming off of the Napoleonic era and even the second Napoleon III era when France did their thing in 1871. And then you had, American wars, and you had a bunch of conflicts, more local conflicts. But once you had World War I with modern destructive technology, it hit people really hard. And it made people really question what it meant to be human, what meaning really was, question religion, question all the things that used to underpin everything about what we are. Reality seemed shattered at this point. There was this general inclination, when seeing the destruction from this thing, to isolate in general. So this is probably part of the inclination that Thomas Mann had in writing this book. So he had the influence. Obviously, he wasn't writing the book and then World War I hit, so he decided to incorporate it into the book. It was like he was hit by this, and it likely was part of the reason that he had this instinct to try to isolate, at least in literary form, and explore what such devastation in the real world meant for humanity and what it means going forward for humanity. So, like I alluded to, the patients represent different philosophical approaches that are competing in a new era of trying to understand ourselves. It's a less traditional Bildungsroman because he doesn't really have a triumphant resolution, but he has a realization about the world. And this is something that would seem to characterize a lot of the writing in the 20th century, is the realization that people come to, as opposed to the real positive growth aspect of the stories that had come before. So the writing style in general, I just don't like Mann's style. I don't like it. It's like reading the back of a cereal box. I can't even effectively describe how it feels or how much I dislike reading his prose. And I'll give you guys some examples, some quotes, and you can decide. Because some of the authors that I've liked, if anybody who's been here for a long time, I don't know if any of you listened to the podcast where I really got deep into a whole bunch of books, or if you listen to any of them on the YouTube channel, but there are a bunch of authors that I absolutely love that I can read over and over and over again, like Kafka. Love Kafka. There was even Camus. Didn't we get to The Stranger at some point and talk about that? But that one, a lot of similar subject matter, but absolutely loved that book. I could not put it down. Like I mentioned, Dostoevsky, a similar subject, a lot of dire, a lot of philosophy, and characters representing philosophical perspectives. And absolutely, it was one of the first books I ever read was Crime and Punishment. But Dostoevsky, extremely insightful. He's one of those ones if there were a Mount Rushmore of intellectuals in human history, he would probably be on that. Of people who really understood philosophy and, more importantly, human psychology. He would be up there, along with, obviously, Nietzsche, who would be the top. He would be the highest head on Mount Rushmore. We might just have to put 4 versions of him on Mount Rushmore. Although, there are some other good ones. But anyway, so yeah, Dostoevsky. But there are other authors who write in this area, in this sector of human thought that I absolutely love, but I just cannot take his prose seriously. I don't think it's good at all. Here's a quote from it. You guys can decide for yourself. Obviously, I'm right about everything, but you guys should still listen and decide. This is the quote. Quote, "Isn't it grand, isn't it good, that language has only one word for everything we associate with love, from utter sanctity to the most fleshly lust. The result is perfect clarity in ambiguity, for love cannot be disembodied even in its most sanctified forms, nor is it without sanctity even at its most fleshly. Love is always simply itself, both as a subtle affirmation of life and as the highest passion. Love is our sympathy with organic life." End quote. It's so stupid. I hate it. I hate everything about all those things, all those words that were put together. I tried to read it in like a sincere tone, but I hate it. I hate his writing style. It's too direct. It's not as insightful as it thinks it is. It's like sickly and stupid. I really hate every other author on this list. We've been going through the 100, and virtually every other author that I can think of on the list, even the ones I didn't like. There's some scale of beauty and insight in the way that they write. Some of them get kind of close to an edge of genuine poetry and beauty, and then other ones go way over it, like a Shakespeare or something. They're so far beyond the other ones, it's incredible. But even the ones who aren't that great, there's still something beautiful in them. You could still see where the talent is, where the interest is in the intrigue. You could still see it in there. But I just do not see it in Thomas Mann. It's like he doesn't even approach that. I hate reading his writing. I just don't think he's complex or wise or thoughtful, and it comes through in the writing. It makes me nauseated when I read his stuff. So I tried to go through, when I couldn't get through the actual book and I couldn't remember anything that I read in it, I actually tried to go through a lot of his quotes from the book just to see if I'm missing something. There's something I could get from those specifically, but I hated them all. I hated every quote that I read out of this book. It felt like an advertising agency that was trying to sell the Bible. That's what it felt like trying to read this. There was something distinctly kitsch about it. Like, it was so insincere. There's something weak about the framing and whiny about the result. I just do not like this book. Anyway, so anybody who loves this book, let me know what strikes you about it. I know there's something that has to be in there. It's on the list and relatively high up on the list of the 100 greatest books of all time. I don't know if most of the people who vote for this kind of thing just have assumed that it should be there because of the subject matter or the idea idea behind it and didn't really read it or didn't read it at all. But I don't know. Somebody let me know. Now, just something to keep in mind is when I criticize literature, like genuine, artful literature from antiquity, it's at a frequency that is so much gentler than with movies, because movies can be so bad, it's disgusting, but all this literature that's in this context, it has, a whole bunch of redeeming qualities relative to, what other literature is. Except for this book, this one's absolute trash and I hate it, but I'm just saying that the worst book on this list is still fascinating in some ways and worth understanding to some degree. I just, God, it gets so much better than this when it comes to literature. So yeah, that's Thomas Mann, and that is The Magic Mountain. I don't think he shows up again on the list. I hope. But if you guys want to keep up with me, I know I've done this before. If you guys want to, you've probably already read a lot of these books. I know men nowadays, which this pisses me off probably more than most of anything in the world right now, is that men don't read very much anymore. And I understand, because most of the publishing houses and things have been overtaken by the influx of women entering the workforce. So it's mostly women. I think it's like 80% of new books are bought by women. And most of the publishing houses, have a huge female staff, and newer books are being written for women. And so it's tough. Like for men, it's like, okay, what am I supposed to be reading? There's nothing new coming out for me. So what should I be reading? Well, read the classics, obviously. Go back to these ones, the quality ones. Magic Mountain on the list, the top 100 that I have, which is a combination of a whole bunch of different lists, is number 64. Number 64, The Magic Mountain. So this one is done. We are calling it DOA, and thank the Lord. Next one is Goethe. It's Faust is what we're reading next. It's not very long, so that's a +2. But either way, it would be worth reading. We're going to read Faust all the way through. When I did the Metamorphoses, I tried to just read the whole thing and make that an episode, but so many people complained that I read like I was on speed or something, that I don't know if I'm going to do that again. But Faust is the next one that I'm going to read. I'm toying with the idea of some other format to just like listen to the whole audiobook together and go through it and discuss it as we're going through it, as opposed to just doing an episode like this. But we will see how that comes along. But yeah, Faust by Goethe is the next one, and a whole bunch of movies will come out in the interim, and we'll talk about those. I hope all is well. Like I said, I think anybody who answers or leaves a comment or has anything to say about anything, I do appreciate it. There are a tremendous number of idiots, but there are also a tremendous number of people who are just trying to engage these ideas and better understand and explicate the world in general. And I always applaud that. So yeah, Faust coming up next. Some movies, some really interesting movies coming up as well. I hope all is well for all you guys, and I will see you on the next one. All right, bye.